Hi folks, welcome to Business Spotlight. I'm joined by an absolutely fantastic guest today. She's extremely well known in our area. She grew her business over 17 years from 3 to 47 employees, had an incredible business, sold it very successfully, became a business coach, and then progressed to work in a regional role with Natwest, helping fellow business owners across East England and the East Midlands. Debbie Lewis, welcome to Business Spotlight.
Mark, thank you so much for having me.
Share the story. Give us a potted history of how you got to where you are now.
Long story short, over 17 years, I grew what was just a hair salon into a hair and beauty empire, multi-site, thanks to Action Coach, actually. I worked with Action Coach, who were phenomenal through part of that scale-up journey. My dad sadly passed away, and I had a bit of an early midlife crisis. And I thought, surely there is more to life than working 24/7, always being obsessed with my business, and I sold it. So not instantly, but I had a plan. I scaled and exited, retired for about 3 days before I suddenly thought, what on earth am I going to do with my life? And someone said, you should join the Natwest Accelerator as a business coach. And yeah, obviously the journey is much longer than that, but that's how I ended up working at Natwest in the enterprise team. And now giving back to hundreds, if not thousands, of business owners across the region.
What a great story. But I'm sure it wasn't all plain sailing, Debbie. There would have been some challenges along the way. Can you tell us a bit about some of the challenges that you faced and how you overcame them?
There wasn't a month that went by where I didn't have epic highs and crushing lows. But if I think about and focus on the worst challenges that I had to overcome, growing pains through scaling up, having a small team that felt like family, having to distance myself in order to grow the business, particularly when we meant multi-site. Financial illiteracy. I was completely unprepared for running a business. That journey has really helped me with the language and getting things wrong. Nearly losing everything. I nearly lost my home with some really bad business decisions. It has not been without punishment, and it absolutely was not a straight path. It's a very wobbly, windy one, and just as many lows as there were highs.
It's never a straight journey, right? But eventually you built a fantastic business. So tell me, how did you build a strong customer base and establish a powerful brand?
I want to tell you that in the early days, I had this phenomenal strategy and I was really prepared, but it would be utter lies. I was just inordinately good at building relationships. And we know that people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And I was just really good at fostering relationships and communicating. And I built a team around me that wherever I had weak spots, I brought in somebody who was much stronger and much better at that. So we became a real powerhouse team. And everybody that worked with me was really aligned to our values of community and trust and doing the right thing and being good people. And always wanting it to be about the long game, that we were never about short wins. And so through that, we grew really organically. In fact, I don't think in 10 years I ever paid for marketing. That now I look back at that and I think, wow, that's quite a statement. But equally, I never needed to plug into all of those processes and systems until we then went multi-site and until I looked at scale to exit. And then I thought, blimey, imagine how much more successful I would have been if I'd done all this stuff earlier.
Yeah, you said a moment ago that, it's not a straight path. There must have been some pivotal moments along the way. So what were those decisions that you took, or any defining moments along the way? How did they affect you? How did they affect the growth of the business?
Not planning for the big bills. So VAT, end of year, financial planning was my absolute nemesis. I, to this day, hate spreadsheets, but I have a better relationship with them now. And what I learned through that was, if there's something you're really bad at, bring in somebody who's really good at it and let them help you. Understanding the power of bringing in strategic alliances, working with people who are better than you at business, coaches even, trusting that somebody who has that umbrella view of your business actually can give you better advice than even when you live and breathe it every day. My accountant gave me some really tough love. And I've spoken about this on a number of podcasts, that actually had my accountant not have given me some really tough love, that, you know, he was very brave to give to me and kind of say, you know, what are you doing with this business over here? Because all of this other stuff is masking how terribly this business is doing. This is not a business. This is a hobby. Are you pleased to be paying this much money for this hobby? And I hated it. And I hated that he was right. And I hated that I'd let it get to that stage. But the blind optimism was replaced with really number crunching, knowing my numbers and making some really tough decisions. And that included redundancies and closures and some really tough financial times ahead.
So you talked about blind optimism, you've talked about tough love. There would have been some difficult kind of moments along the way. How do you handle failure and setback? How do you overcome it? What are the lessons that you've learned from it?
I think the most important lesson that I learned is surrounding yourself with an awesome support network. And I want to say that for me, it was family and friends, but actually, although they were brilliant for all of the outside of work stuff, actually none of my immediate family really got the business thing. None of them were entrepreneurs. And all of my friends, although they were entrepreneurs, were at very different stages to me. And I almost felt like I had to have this wall of this picture had been painted of this incredibly successful businesswoman. And behind that screen, I was going, soon somebody is going to realize I don't have a clue what I'm doing. The imposter syndrome was real. So actually, for me, it was about having that accountant, that business coach, and that business network, people who were in a really similar situation to me, who I could give a no BS version of my situation to and know that they would understand. Equally, my partner, my parents, my friends were amazing to tell me what I needed to hear about how great they thought I was. But actually, the stuff that really moved the dial for me was the exposure, the candor, and the feedback, the communication and the feedback.
Something we often hear, both of us, I'm sure, with clients that we work with, you know, business owners in the early part of the journey think that they have to work harder and harder and work longer and longer hours. But actually, it's about working smarter, right? How do you keep all of that in check? How do you keep a balance?
I think it's about setting hard boundaries. It's about task time management. So I am a slave to my calendar. If it's not in the calendar, it's not happening. And I find that having that basis of structure, accountability, even my best friends will say, if you've not had a calendar invite, she won't be there. I am terrible at I can really easily let my diary get ridiculous. So I have to put that structure in place. And this was something that my boss at Natwest once said to me that really resonated. Every time you say yes to something that you shouldn't be doing, you're saying no to something that you'd rather be doing. And that's so true, because I love networking, but if I go networking at 3 or 4 nights a week, I then have a very grumpy husband by the weekend because I haven't been around. And actually my relationship's really important to me. And so I need to balance that. And you can't do all the things you want to do all the time.
Now let's talk a little bit about growth and growth strategies, right? That's what it's all about. So what strategies worked well for you when you were running your business, Debbie, or what strategies are you seeing working well in the businesses you're working with now?
So something that we teach on the Accelerator Program that actually I've always done is a process of visioning and backcasting. So starting with a very clear end in mind. Because it is almost that, be careful what you wish for. If you actually only focus on being busy or having a full plate, you'll get that. But is it profitable? Is it the type of work you want to be doing? So having a really clear strategy, visioning what your life will be like at 3, 5, 10 years time. I don't think enough entrepreneurs do that. I talked about hard boundaries and being a slave to your calendar. protecting time to work on and not in your business, you can get swallowed up by the operational day-to-day of running any type of business. But actually the power I've found comes from networking, meeting new people, even those when you get the invite, you think, I'm not sure if this is for me, and you give it a go and you think, I'm so glad I did this, because I would never otherwise have met XYZ and found out about grants, initiatives, opportunities, awards, and market your business in unusual and strange ways.
What has the role of building strong relationships had on your journey?
Working on the accelerator and working as I do with entrepreneurs, they're sector and stage agnostic. But the commonality that runs through every single one of those businesses is the power of connectivity. When we meet people at networking, when we're introduced to them, I think the earlier stage entrepreneurs are often trying to do that equation of me plus them equals how is this relevant for my business? When actually the beauty of connectivity and building relationships is the more people you know and connect to and understand, the more champions and advocates you'll have out in the ecosystem in your absence. So there's a brilliant quote about, be the person that speaks for the person who's absent in the room. I've butchered that quote, but you know what I'm saying. I actually think that's one of the biggest gifts we can give other entrepreneurs, is to mention them in a room of opportunities that they are not in. And you can only do that when you get to know people. So pitching is super important. Pitching is powerful. Giving your message in 60 seconds so that we can rule in or rule out where we need to position this person in our mental dictionary. But it's the long game. They're so important.
You just mentioned a moment ago about being sector agnostic. The world's fast moving right now. How do you stay up to date with all the latest trends, the developments in technology, just to kind of make sure that you and your clients are remaining competitive?
And it is an ever evolving landscape. So I guess my top tip that will transcend time is you can't be an expert in everything. You're not expected to be an expert in everything. So just know who are the beacons in your network that you need to stay close to. And that might be following them on LinkedIn, or it might be catching up with them at one of their events every 3 or 6 months. But you will take something away from every time you connect with them. So for example, I'm fascinated by AI. Now, it doesn't play into my day-to-day. I love the concept of ChatGPT, but again, it's not something that's fundamental to my role. But actually, if I catch a webinar or I attend a session where somebody's talking, if I take just a tiny bit of information to empower me, but I don't then try to be the expert on that, if I need to pursue it, outsource it, bring someone in, get a consultant, and then realize what I can do and what's within my gift of time, gift of experience, but not too much. Don't try to be the master of everything.
You had a fantastic career and you've had a lot of experiences along the way. Last question. What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self, Debbie?
And this is my mantra across everything that I do, is I truly, truly believe that you are only 3 things away from anything that you want to achieve in life. The first is tenacity and hard work. You've got to want it enough. The second is the hard work and dedication to seeing it through, that persistence. And then the third thing is network and connectivity. And I think if you use and apply that to absolutely anything that you want to go for, you'll get there.
Brilliant. What a great way to finish. Debbie, you've been a fantastic guest. Thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a joy to interview you.
Oh, my absolute pleasure, Mark. Thank you. Carry on doing all the great stuff.
You're welcome. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. Folks, if you'd like to come and be a guest on Business Spotlight like Debbie has just done, if you'd like to share your message and get it out there to the world, we'd love to help you. So just comment, apply below, get in touch. We'll follow you up and we'll get you on to Business Spotlight. We'd love to see you. Until next time, thank you so much for joining. Bye for now.